My name is Nancy, and I'm 27 years old, living in Austin, Texas. I've always been a teacher, but today, I feel like I'm standing on the precipice of a new chapter in my life. It's been 6 months since my grandfather, Henry, passed away, and today is the day the lawyer will read his will. This moment is heavy with memories and emotions, as it brings back the loss of not only Henry but also my grandmother, who died a few years ago. My sister Lisa and I were left to navigate our lives after the tragic accident that took our parents 20 years ago. My sister Lisa, now 31, is a freelance designer who has always lived a carefree, somewhat chaotic life. Even when our grandparents were alive, she seemed to float through life, relying on their support without much regard for their well-being. I've often wondered if she ever truly appreciated the sacrifices our grandparents made for us. In contrast, I've always been the more responsible one. When Henry's health started to decline, I moved into an apartment nearby to keep a closer eye on him, while Lisa continued her usual routine. The day of the will reading arrived, and I found myself standing in the grand but worn-down living room of our old family home. This house holds so many memories: the smell of my grandmother's cooking, the warmth of Henry's stories, and the sense of security we once had. But now, as I prepared to hear the terms of the will, the house seemed to hold a different kind of weight, a mixture of nostalgia and trepidation. Lisa arrived late, as usual, her entrance marked by the loud clack of her high heels and the strong scent of her perfume that filled the room. I noticed her yawning and stretching, seemingly indifferent to the gravity of the situation. I tried to ignore the irritation that bubbled up inside me as I saw her carefree attitude. We both knew the lawyer would soon arrive, but Lisa's lack of urgency and respect for the occasion was unsettling. The lawyer, Mr. Collins, arrived punctually, his demeanor respectful and kind. I had met him before, during Henry's funeral, and he had always reminded me of my grandfather's warmth. As Mr. Collins settled himself with a cup of tea, he began to read the will. I braced myself, trying to steady my nerves. The first thing he read was that Lisa was to inherit $10 million in cash. Lisa's eyes widened, and she let out a surprised laugh, clearly pleased with the outcome. The next part was addressed to me. I was to inherit the house and the land it sat on. My heart sank a little as I heard those words. Lisa's laughter grew louder, and she turned to me with a smirk. "Oh, Nancy," she said with a mocking tone. "Looks like Grandpa left you the old house and some land. How quaint." It's almost as if he thought I wouldn't appreciate it. I tried to maintain my composure, but her words stung. "It's not just an old house, Lisa. It's the place where we grew up, where we shared so many memories with Grandpa and Grandma. It's more valuable than you think." Lisa laughed again, dismissing my words. "Yeah, right. I suppose Grandpa had a soft spot for you, even if you are just a plain teacher." Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "I bet you'll find the land is worth nothing in this godforsaken place." I wanted to defend the house, but I knew it was pointless. Lisa had always been driven by material wealth, and she couldn't see beyond the cash she'd received. Despite her mockery, I understood why Henry had chosen to leave the house and land to me. He knew that while the immediate value was not high, it was filled with memories and had sentimental worth. I was determined to honor his wishes and take care of it, even if Lisa couldn't see its value. As the meeting concluded, I felt a mix of sadness and resolve. Lisa's reaction had been exactly what I'd expected, self-centered and dismissive. She quickly left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The house felt emptier now, not just because of Henry's absence, but because Lisa's behavior had made it clear that she didn't share the same sense of family or responsibility. Later that day, as I sat with my boyfriend, Jake, he listened to me recount the events with a somewhat detached expression. Jake, who is also 27 and works as a salesperson, had always been supportive but seemed indifferent about my inheritance. His comments about Lisa's windfall seemed more focused on the money rather than the significance of the house and land. "It must be something," Jake remarked, "to get $10 million. That's quite a lot of cash. I mean, I get why you're attached to the house, but come on, the money's where the real value is." I tried to mask my disappointment, but his response made me uneasy. It was clear that Jake didn't share my appreciation for the sentimental value of the inheritance. As the days went by, his indifference started to bother me more and more. Little did I know, this would be the beginning of a series of events that would shake the very foundation of my life. The turning point in this story, though, was just around the corner. I could feel the tension building, but I wasn't yet aware of how drastically my life would change. For now, all I could do was reflect on my grandfather's decision and prepare myself for what was to come. It wasn't long after the will reading that the cracks in my world began to show. Life, as I knew it, took a sudden and disheartening turn. The days following the reading of Grandpa Henry's will were a mix of trying to get used to my new role as caretaker of the family home and dealing with Lisa's mockery. I hoped that my decision to stay close to the house and respect Grandpa's wishes would eventually lead to a deeper understanding of its value, even if Lisa couldn't see it. Jake and I had been dating for a little over a year. He was supportive during Grandpa's final days and the aftermath, but lately, he seemed distant. His focus on Lisa's $10 million inheritance instead of my feelings about the house started to worry me. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that he was just caught up in the excitement of Lisa's windfall. Little did I know, there was much more to his indifference than I had realized. One evening, as I was preparing dinner in my small but cozy kitchen, my phone rang. It was Lisa. I wasn't expecting to hear from her, especially given how she had acted after the will reading. Hesitant but polite, I answered. "Nancy, it's Lisa. I'm calling to tell you something." Her voice was slurred, indicating she had been drinking. "I just thought you should know something." Before she could continue, I could hear Jake's voice in the background. My heart skipped a beat as I realized they were together. The sense of betrayal began to seep into my thoughts, but I kept my composure. "Lisa, is there something specific you wanted to talk about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Lisa's laughter, not at all reassuring, echoed through the line. "Oh, Nancy, I thought you'd like to know that Jake and I have been, well, spending quite a bit of time together. He's been such a good friend." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind raced as I tried to process the shocking revelation. Lisa's intention to hurt me was clear in her tone. She seemed to relish the pain she was causing. A part of me wanted to hang up, but I needed to hear her out. "You and Jake," I managed to say, my voice trembling. "How long has this been going on?" Lisa snickered. "Oh, come on, Nancy. You must have suspected something. He never cared about you the way he should have. I just thought it was funny that you were so focused on that old house while I'm here with someone who can actually appreciate me." The cruelty in her words was unbearable. It was clear she took pleasure in my misery, using it as a weapon to further wound me. I ended the call abruptly, unable to bear any more of her taunting. Tears streamed down my face as I tried to wrap my head around the betrayal from both my sister and my boyfriend. The shock left me feeling numb and lost. The following days were a blur of emotional turmoil. I avoided contact with both Lisa and Jake, focusing instead on managing the family house and preparing for what lay ahead. Every creak of the old floorboards and every memory of happier times with Henry seemed to remind me of the deep sense of loss I felt, not just of Henry, but also of the trust one had in those closest to me. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt, it was the realization that the people I had trusted and cared for had used my vulnerability against me. Lisa and Jake's affair wasn't just a personal betrayal, It felt like a direct attack on the values my grandfather had cherished. The house, which was meant to be a sanctuary filled with family love, now felt like a symbol of my loneliness and the broken trust that had taken root in my life. I resolved to distance myself from both of them. I needed time to heal and think about what was next. I had inherited more than just property. I had inherited a responsibility to honor Grandpa Henry's memory and preserve the home he had so deeply valued. Despite the pain and anger, I knew I had to stay focused on this responsibility. As I wrestled with my emotions, I began to see a glimmer of clarity. Grandpa Henry's decision to leave me the house and land, though it seemed small compared to Lisa's immediate wealth, held a different kind of promise. The value of the property was bound to increase as Austin continued to develop. Even in my sorrow, I started to see that there might be a silver lining if I could hold on and make the right decisions. But for now, my focus was on picking up the pieces of my life and coming to terms with the betrayal. The road ahead seemed uncertain, but I was determined to navigate it with the same resilience and care that I had always tried to embody. Little did I know, the journey of self-discovery and growth was just beginning. It's strange how life can shift so dramatically, almost overnight. After the crushing betrayal from Lisa and Jake, I focused on moving forward, trying to make sense of my situation. I poured myself into managing the family home, dedicating countless hours to repairs and upkeep. The house, once a symbol of security and family, now became my sanctuary, my escape from the chaos that Lisa and Jake had left behind. Months turned into years, and gradually, the hurt began to fade. My heart healed, and I found solace in the work I was doing on the property. Despite the emotional pain, I came to appreciate the house for what it was, a legacy from Grandpa Henry, a place filled with memories and the essence of family love that I wasn't ready to let go of. Then came a pivotal moment in my life. I received an offer for the property from a real estate developer. Austin was growing rapidly, and the land where the house stood was becoming increasingly valuable. It was tempting to sell, especially given the situation with Lisa and Jake. I thought about it long and hard. Selling the house would mean letting go of the past, but it could also secure my future. I consulted with a few advisors, and they confirmed that the offer was fair, given the current market trends. They suggested that waiting for a better offer could be risky, especially with the pace of development in Austin. The decision weighed heavily on me. The house held so many memories of Grandpa Henry and our childhood, and the thought of parting with it was bittersweet. After much deliberation, I decided to take the offer. It was a strategic decision, not an emotional one. I knew that holding on to the house, though meaningful, wasn't going to change what had happened or bring back the past. The sale would give me financial stability and open new opportunities for my future. The day of the closing felt surreal. As I handed over the keys, a mix of relief and sadness washed over me. I was closing a chapter, but also opening a new one. With the proceeds from the sale, I was able to invest wisely and secure my financial future. It wasn't just about the money. It was about reclaiming my life and moving forward with a renewed sense of purpose. 5 years had passed since the will reading, and my life had taken a remarkable turn. I had met someone new, Tom, a kind and understanding man who supported me through the emotional and practical challenges of the past years. We got married, and I was expecting our first child. It was a time of joy and anticipation, a stark contrast to the heartache of the past. Meanwhile, Lisa's life had taken a different path. The money she had inherited was long gone, spent on a lavish lifestyle that couldn't sustain itself. She was deeply in debt and still entangled with Jake, who had his own financial struggles. Their once bright future had dimmed, overshadowed by poor choices and the consequences of their actions. One day, I received an unexpected call from Lisa. Her voice was desperate, pleading, "Nancy, I need help. I'm in serious trouble. Can you loan me some money? I took a deep breath, trying to manage my emotions. Part of me wanted to help, but I also knew that I had to stand by my decision and the lessons I had learned. Lisa, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. You made choices that led you to this point, and it's important for you to face the consequences. Her response was a mixture of frustration and bitterness. You don't understand. I'm in a bad place, and it's all because of bad luck. Her pleas were a stark reminder of the path I had chosen to leave behind. I had moved on, found stability, and embraced a new beginning. Lisa and Jake's choices had led them to a place of despair, while I had managed to find peace and happiness despite the setbacks. Life continued its course, and I focused on building my future with Tom and preparing for the arrival of our child. The lessons learned from the past were invaluable, shaping my perspective on wealth and relationships. It wasn't about the money or the material possessions. It was about love, support, and the strength to move forward, no matter the obstacles. As I looked back, I realized that Grandpa Henry's legacy wasn't just in the property or the inheritance. It was in the wisdom he had imparted, the values he had upheld, and the strength to embrace a future filled with hope and new beginnings. As I settled into my new life with Tom and our growing family, it felt like I had finally found the peace and happiness I had been seeking. The transition from the old to the new had been challenging, but it led me to a place of contentment I hadn't thought possible. The house was gone, but the lessons it had taught me remained. One day, the tranquility of my new life was interrupted by a shocking news headline. Lisa and Jake had been arrested for marriage fraud. They had concocted a scheme to scam money from a wealthy individual by pretending to be married. Their plan had unraveled, and they were now facing serious legal consequences. When I read about their arrest, a mix of emotions washed over me. Part of me felt a sense of vindication. Lisa and Jake had brought their troubles upon themselves, and now they were paying the price for their choices. Yet, I also felt a pang of sadness. Despite everything, they were still family, and it was hard to see them in such a dire situation. Lisa reached out to me again, this time from a place of desperation. Her letter was filled with regret and pleas for forgiveness. Nancy, I'm so sorry for everything. I see now how wrong I was. Can you help us? We're in a terrible place. Reading her letter, I reflected on the journey I had been on. I had learned to value what truly mattered: love, family, and integrity. Despite the betrayal and the hurt, I had chosen to build a life grounded in these values. I had worked hard to create something meaningful, not just for myself, but for the family I was now raising. I decided to visit Lisa. It wasn't about rehashing the past or opening old wounds. It was about offering closure and extending a hand, even if it was limited. Seeing her in person, I could tell she had been through a lot. Her once confident demeanor was replaced by a weary and humbled expression. "I'm sorry, Nancy," she said, tears in her eyes. "I see now how wrong I was. I made so many mistakes." "I know, Lisa," I replied gently, "but there's a lesson in all of this. We all make mistakes, but it's what we do afterward that defines us. I can't offer you money, but I hope you find a way to rebuild and learn from this." Her sobs were heart-wrenching, and I could see the depth of her regret. As much as I had moved on, I couldn't deny the compassion I felt for her. This was a moment of realization for both of us. Lisa needed to confront her choices and find a way to make amends. Leaving the prison, I felt a sense of finality. The past was truly behind me. I had learned that while material wealth could be fleeting, the love and wisdom from family were enduring. I had found true happiness in the relationships I had built and the life I was creating. The story of my life had come full circle. I had faced betrayal, made difficult choices, and ultimately discovered what truly mattered. As I prepared for the arrival of my child, I was committed to teaching them the lessons I had learned, that love, integrity, and family are the greatest treasures one can have. In the end, the true value of life isn't measured by money or possessions, but by the love we give and receive. And with that understanding, I looked forward to the future with hope and gratitude, ready to embrace whatever came next.